Welcome to the Decent Crypto Podcast. Today is October 22nd, and we are back, Matt. We've got a recap.
This is the first recap in a while, right? So I think
I love how you had nothing to say today. Like, yeah, we have a recap.
Yes. This is our first recap in a while. I don't think we want to. I think the last time we recapped was during Pepe.
What a great time!
Honestly, we could do the full 3 or 4 months recap, or we could just do the last week, and they look pretty much the same.
Yeah, just about. I would say it's pretty interesting. Yeah, it's a pretty interesting mark where Pepe and the whole meme coin run that happened right after Pepe was clearly the kind of watershed moment of this year, whereas that is clearly where all the action was, where all the liquidity went, where who knows, it might have been a money laundering scheme from a few people who rugged a DAO a couple of years ago. Nobody really knows.
Wait, is that a theory?
Oh yeah. Apparently, yeah. That is a money laundering scheme for Sisyphus and all the guys, apparently just him and a bunch of people who are laundering the money from Anubis DAO. Yeah.
What was Anubis? Do you know?
Anubis DAO. It was an Ohm fork, and apparently Sisyphus stole the 60 mil. That people put into the protocol. So somebody did. Yeah, just full rug. Yeah. They said it was hacked. It was hacked or stolen or whatever. But yeah, this is definitely rugged. And then there is basically it's either Sisyphus or this guy Beerus. I guess Beerus. I don't know how you say it, but he's this billionaire's kid from Hong Kong. They were working on Anubis together, and then they basically both say the other person stole the 60 mil. It's pretty funny. And then there's this whole thing recently about I put it in the newsletter, actually plug the newsletter again, but about how a lot of the funds are traced back to the Anubis rug, which are linked to Sisyphus, which are then linked to Pepe, and a lot of the money that was pumped into Pepe, it's pump it so high and all this kind of stuff. Super interesting. But yeah, so the whole point was there's a very clear kind of mark, with what happened with Pepe, a whole meme coin run after, and then not that much activity the whole rest of the year. There was the early pump,
a little bit of ordinals.
Yeah. So there's the early pump in January with Bitcoin and a bunch of other stuff just going ham in January,
Kanto.
February, Kanto, and then ordinals came out then. There was another ordinals run in June, right after the meme coin run, but that was kind of a continuation of the meme coin run, honestly. And then it's been pretty quiet. There's just been rumors of ETF and not that much else.
Yeah, speaking of ETF rumors.
Speaking of ETF rumors, I don't even know what to say about this one. Cointelegraph. I don't know who in their right state of mind thought that Cointelegraph was going to be the one.
Who follows Cointelegraph?
Yeah, especially for actual news,
breaking
news.
Yeah, market moving news at Cointelegraph. I mean, Cointelegraph is if you pull up their website right now, they still have illustrated photos for every single story, and
it looks like a clickbait website.
Yeah, it's so bad. It looks like early BuzzFeed maybe. A lot of the photos are anthropomorphized coins, where the coins walking around with hands. And
Yeah.
It's pretty bad. Anyway, somehow they got the alpha that the ETF was the. Did they say the BlackRock one was approved?
The iShares, yeah,
The
BlackRock
iShares one,
iShares,
yeah.
Bitcoin ETF.
And it turns out it was, according to them, it was an intern that tweeted it, and everybody on the like editor team basically had to decide, are we going to let this go to print, or like do we need to like verify it? And it's like, well, if it's this big, we probably need to just like print it, right, so that we can be the first to break the story, without actually checking why they would be the first to break the story. And so they I think leaked it, and then it's a really interesting thing, like the TradFi media, like Bloomberg picks up on stories super automatically. Like they just have this like
Mm,
automated scraper that pulls out everything that comes out of like some pretty trash sources. But Cointelegraph, you don't think of as like a really bad place to get crypto news, right?
mm,
It's just like
not the
when you
worst.
yeah, like when you Google something, you're looking for like the link from Blockworks or maybe Decrypt, right? But you're never really looking for
Hmm.
like the Cointelegraph link to like learn about the story. Um, anyway, but with the Bloomberg terminal, all of the headlines show up the same. Like they're all sort of given like the same like level of, they have the same font size, they have the same font weight. There's no like indicator of like, this is a really big story, you should definitely like click this one. And the only way
Mm,
on Bloomberg that you know that like a big story is breaking is when you see like two or three or four sources talking about the same thing, and then you just click one of them. And so,
mm,
and so some of the early screenshots I saw were like of Bloomberg automatically taking the Cointelegraph tweet and like generating the little Bloomberg snippet story as a result of it, which was hilarious. And then the market pumped on it.
yeah,
Um,
the market went pretty crazy on it, which was, I mean, the most telling thing, right? Which is it's just like in one sense, it's like the market is very immature still. I guess I don't know if you would call it immature, or like what you would call it, like inefficient. But on the other hand, it's like, well, I guess there is a ton of money just waiting, like sidelined, for something like this to actually hit. Uh,
I mean,
where if
I see it as like being hyper efficient, right? Okay, think about what happens from the moment that that story gets played, right? A few people start buying, and yeah, you're right. There's definitely a ton of money sidelined waiting for like an ETF approval just in case, right? Um, and then at that point, like all sorts of bots start to see buy orders flooding the order books, and they start just automatically adjusting their selling price higher and higher and higher. And then everybody that sees that, that's running an automated bot on the buy side, is also like crossing the spread now to get to like whatever the fair price appears to be, which is the higher sale price. Um,
mm,
so you could almost argue that like in the ability for this to like price in and then price out so quickly, that's almost the most efficient market, right?
yeah, but the news was so clearly not real for anybody who's like who has any sense at all. Like is like I don't know who in their right mind. Like basically the people that I saw on Twitter and in my Telegram chats that were basically saying like, "Holy shit, this is it finally happened." Whatever, like were the most normie people that I know. It was
I
not
mean,
like
yeah.
crypto people that were calling this out and saying like, "Holy shit, the fucking ETF is finally here." Um, so in that sense, it's like, okay, yeah, sure, maybe you see some buying, and then yeah, a bunch of bots adjust accordingly. But like, it's not like this was a real source of alpha to act on.
um, I mean, it's interesting. Yours a good point. Everyone I know that sent like a screenshot of it that was informed had like it was next to a little comment like, is this real? Like
Yeah.
I didn't see anyone send it to a group chat like, wow. Everybody that sent it to me was like, is this a real thing?
Yeah, yeah.
Which I actually feel like most big stories, when they do happen, are also sent to me that way. Like, people will text me like, "Is this real?" And
Mhm.
even when it is
Yeah.
real, like that's how you approach it. Um, anyway, the more interesting thing is that, of course, after the retrace, we continued pumping.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah,
just
that
everyone
was quite
thinking
interesting.
like?
Now it's coming. Now it's basically everybody having the exact same thought pattern as us right now. It's like, oh wait, holy shit. There was a fake ETF rumor. Price went up. Everybody's waiting for the actual ETF. That means it's not priced in. That means I need to buy now. So maybe at
um,
30K it is priced in.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there were similar things that happened with the merge, right? Where it was like, okay, everyone knows when the merge is already priced in, but we still kind of pumped into that, but only on, yeah, like
Hmm.
little news, like the merge might be delayed, and then
Hmm.
whoa, the merge, you know,
Yeah.
the thought that like it might be delayed made everyone pay attention to like, oh shit, the merge isn't priced in yet, I should buy some.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
Um, Interesting though. Definitely like a welcome bit of price action. I feel like across my timeline, across most of Twitter, like it feels like people are finally a little bit happy again.
Hmm.
And no one's really like, cheering too loudly other than maybe like the Solana people. It just feels like the vibes shifted more positive, which is nice to see.
Yeah. Speaking of Solana, should we hit Solana real quick?
Yeah, yeah.
I know it's not on the agenda, but it's been pumping so hard lately. I feel like I've been getting texts from people I don't normally get texts from about Solana. Wow, what's going on with Solana? So what is going on with Solana, Matt? Why is it pumping so hard?
Gosh, no fucking idea. I think, to a degree, like in crypto, a lot of times the things that move the most are the things that are going to continue moving the most, right? So I've seen like a lot of people say, "Look, this little rally that we're seeing right now on the basis of like the ETF and then the ETF rumor, and then trying to pre-position for that." Probably won't be sustained.
Mm-hmm.
Like monetary policy is still kind of is where it is, the economy still
Mm-hmm.
is where it is. Like people don't have that much liquidity ready to throw into crypto. So, this is probably going to be like a short term pump. But
Mm-hmm.
pay attention because the stuff that's pumping now is like probably stuff that's going to pump the hardest when it is real and sustained.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
that to a degree is definitely Soul, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like was it your take it was going to go to $1 this year?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
I still haven't hit my $4 target on AVAX either. But that looked like it could really happen for a while, right? Like following FTX. Do you think maybe FTX clarity is causing people to like feel like, okay, it's not so bad. We're actually going to send Sam to jail. He didn't talk too much about like no one has talked too loudly about like it was us that pumped Soul, right?
Yeah,
Like
nobody's really saying that. I mean, I do think like so to be just for the record here, my take was sold to $1 and then it pumps very hard. But that aside, uh, there is a lot of liquidity coming in. I think from like basically the FTX estate having all of these tokens distributed out. And then like presumably they're going to be sold. So I think that's a lot of that is getting distributed out in Q4.
So
So
that's yeah. People are somewhat concerned about that too. But I've heard a really good take, which is that like it might be a bullish unlock, right? Where you have a lot of crypto people, and most of the people that have been dragged through this far still want to buy crypto, right? They just like want
yeah,
that liquidity back to start gambling again, right?
yeah,
And most people are not going to like immediately disgustedly sell at these prices, whatever assets they have. The bigger
hmm
question is, what about the like 13% or whatever that's still locked? Does that
where
create
and
enough?
held by who?
held by FTX, right? Or FTX Ventures or whatever. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, on one hand, that's a little awful, like for for the price to like have someone that holds 13% of this thing and know that they're going to be a forced seller like over time, right? But on the
Hmm.
other hand, if it unlocks linearly, then like honestly, that might be better than many other 2021 coins, where
Yeah,
like
definitely.
like it all unlocks at the same time, and then it's like a game of like chicken, just waiting to see who's gonna dump first, right?
Mm.
Um, so to a degree, maybe FTX is still a bullish thing for Sol.
Wow.
I mean, no one's using
Did
the
not
network
think
either,
I would hear
which is
that.
bullish too.
Yeah. So have things actually changed from a usage perspective or wallet
No,
increase?
no,
Like, are we seeing that or
no.
anything like that? Or is it just kind of speculation or
I mean, I think
what's the
the I
deal?
think the best tweet I saw. You know how people like they see Soul pumping and then they want to buy like Soul aligned tokens or like tokens for projects
Mm-hmm.
on Soul. Like the
Mm-hmm.
funniest take I saw was, look, the only SPL token worth buying is literally Bonk, and I kind of agree.
Oh god, bonk! What a
Yeah,
disgusting coin.
it kind of saved
Um,
the network.
yeah, that's true. In a way, it did. Yeah, I don't know. Like the thing is, like anytime I see this stuff, it's like I just don't see TVL increasing. I don't see actual usage. I do see some like random cool apps like all the time on built on Soul. Like I do see that quite a bit. Just like scrolling through Twitter and stuff like that. But I don't know if anybody's using them. Um,
I mean, the tech is
yeah.
really
So
good, right?
yeah, yeah.
And the only other like player I can think of where that's the first thing you say about them is Near, right? And they really don't have
Mm,
TVL or users or adoption. Like at least Soul has mind share, right?
mm.
And you could see something really cool getting built
What
there.
about
Like
BNB?
I'm long
Tech is
term
good.
giga bullish on BNB.
Same.
um, but I'm also long term very bullish on Soul. Like I think it's really really good. Like for remember the
I mean,
first
yeah,
time you
tech
bought
wise,
Soul?
yes, same. Yeah.
Like it was kind of
Um,
magical. It was really cool. You were like, I didn't realize it could be this good. You loaded up your
yeah,
Phantom
yeah,
wallet. You went and like played around with an app, and you're like, holy shit! The fucking transaction settled, and it cost me what? It cost me nothing. It's
yeah.
pretty cool.
Solana is the best experience in crypto by far. There's nothing even close, I would say. But
It has terrible
at the
value
same
accrual,
time,
if that
yeah,
matters.
exactly. I don't know about the value accrual of the actual token itself. But yeah, again, like people just buy these things because they're just bullish on the network and they're like, oh, yeah, Solana's great, buy Sol.
Yeah, I mean, look, let's look at Bitcoin, right? There's no, you know, what are the tokenomics that drive a value of a Bitcoin? Like,
No, the
it's
Bitcoin tokenomics are great. It's just extreme
a
scarcity. Like they're the opposite of Sol. Sol just has high distribution. It does not have any kind of scarcity built in, and you don't even have any kind of. It doesn't even have any kind of utility because it does obviously it does have utility as a gas token, but it's like the utilities in the actual you know gas fees, and the gas fees are so low that you just don't need to hold it as a gas token.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
So I guess that's what I meant is like, so with Ether, we're really holding it as a gas token and as a unit of account, and like
yeah,
it's
yeah,
very money, right? Like with
yeah,
Bitcoin, it's also that, but we don't even have to fucking go through the mental gymnastics of like how much demand there's going to be for network activity, blah blah blah. It can just be scarce, like that. It's
yeah,
like pretty
yeah.
straightforward. With Sol, there is no scarcity, right? There is no need to hold it as a gas token. There's very limited moneyness, but it might still go up. You know what I mean? Like maybe we're overthinking
Yeah.
this.
No, I definitely think so. I do think it'll go up. I think it'll probably outperform most tokens too. I just don't really. know why. Um, like I'm stating this as a fact that I like I know it's going to do very well, but I really just don't understand why. It's like I tweeted this the other day where it's like Solana. Somebody said Solana is the new Cardano, and
Yeah.
I was like rejecting it. It's like, oh god, that's just terrible for the network. But then I was like looking at the price of Cardano. I was like, oh wait, that's actually great for the network. I think it did a 30x in 2021. So yeah, that's actually it's actually quite bullish. Um, yeah.
Yeah, it was Jeeves,
So
wasn't it? He was like, I refuse to hold this fucking
oh
token because it's basically just Cardano fanboys, but like a little techier. That's the sole
yeah,
fan
yeah,
base.
yeah, yeah.
It's
Um,
like, yeah, that might be really bullish, actually.
yeah. I mean, Cardano went crazy. Um, like yeah, I could definitely see Sol doing the same thing this cycle. Even if nobody's using it, just like Cardano's, like even if there is no actual tech,
Or usage, right? Like, I mean, yeah,
yeah, or
Cardano was bullish because
usage.
they never released anything. That was
Yeah,
amazing.
exactly.
Like, that is the number one story of like, don't ship. Like, shipping is like the most
Mm-hmm.
bearish thing you can do. Like, just
Mm-hmm.
tease. um,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and yeah, I mean, they knew their with Cardano, like their relationship to retail was very much like a buying the token kind of relationship, and it was never really like about users, right? Well, the way
Mm.
that we talk about users in Solana or Polygon or Ether, right, or
Yeah,
Ethereum,
yeah.
right? Like, with Cardano, it's like you should, top five reasons why you might want to buy this token, right? Most people find
Yeah.
out about it from YouTube. Most people probably don't know what wallet even to use with Cardano. Maybe Sol can become that. That would be really cool.
Is that a good thing?
It's a great thing I mean, to be able to draw in, like, to draw in like to like be able to like shamelessly shill into retail. Like, that's a great thing for any network
Mm.
without
Mm.
expecting them to like actually like take up adoption of the network itself.
Yeah, yeah, I see, I see. Hmm. Yeah,
Speaking of
fair.
Sol, how about Sol 2.0?
Yeah, what is Sol 2.0? They're just dropping the beta, they're then like adopting this like Fire Dancer RPC network. Like what
Oh,
is the
dude,
whole like
I was just talking about Aptos.
oh, you're talking about Aptos. Somebody was actually talking about a Sol 2.0 rebrand. Um yeah.
I didn't see that. I like
Like,
that. I mean, obviously,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
fucking shielded by jump. If anyone's mentioning Fire Dancer, it's definitely a jump
Yeah.
thing. But
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's made by Jump, right? Fire Dancer.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
nobody like tweets about Fire Dancer because like for the same reason nobody tweets about like the what nine other pieces of tech that power Solana, right? They're just tech, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Fire Dancer itself gets a little bit more vocalization because it's built by Jump, right? Um,
Mm.
anyway, Aptos. What the fuck happened? I was I was just talking to one of the guys who built the biggest wallet in Aptos, and I was like, and he's like,
Really?
"You think it comes back?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Do you think it comes back?" um, uh,
I mean, come back from what? Like, where was it?
dude, it had a little mini season. Did I tell you about the guy that I know who like got into Aptos NFTs?
I mean, I also know a guy who's in Aptos NFTs. He built an NFT marketplace or something. And then he went to Ordinals. Funny enough, but anyways, um,
Yeah.
but yeah, actually, I do remember this Aptos mini season.
Dude, I think if Aptos manages to catch any users or even like a narrative at all, like I think people want to invest in it. Like I think it could do well.
Interesting.
Same with Sui, right? Like people are just looking for a reason. Like we're all looking for a reason to like want these things, but they just can't seem
That
to
is
find
true. If
one.
there are Yeah, I mean, if there are interesting apps that get built on each of these networks that are like unique and like, you know, like distinguish the network, I would definitely use them.
I
If
mean,
it's all just
even
like,
one, right? Like FriendTech, right?
yeah,
FriendTech really
yeah,
solidified
that's what I
base as a
mean.
network to care
Yeah,
about, right? Like
yeah,
you just
yeah,
need one.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, but if it's all just like, oh, we have our own 10K PFP collection now, it's like, okay,
the
honestly, come on.
Aptos flamingos, the
The
Aptomingos.
Aptos flamingos. I saw there was like a few on Sui too. There's like a
Really, I
Fuddies
never
or a
heard about
Fatties or something like that. I was like, are you what? Um,
that.
it's so bad.
I mean, yeah, it's wild. You get like copy paste like something swap to swap the like two tokens that exist on these networks.
Yeah, I know.
And it's like,
It's all just copy pastas of like random DeFi protocols, and they're just
yeah,
exchanging random tokens that nobody cares about. Yeah,
but there's not even that many, in these earlier like
yeah.
in these earlier networks. There'll be like three tokens.
Mm-hmm.
And it reminds me a lot of like late 2021 when you're like, is this going to be the next thing? Should I figure out what this token does? And then
Mm-hmm.
kind of like, we never thought about those again. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, Aptos turned off, right? How long was it off for?
Yeah, like 5 hours.
5 hours. That's why it's Solana 2.0.
Yeah, yeah. Wait, I was gonna ask you, what is the actual reason? Do we know now, like that it actually turned off? Like what actually happened? Um,
I don't know. I didn't look into it too deeply. The thing is,
yeah.
like, on a lot of these networks, like their blocks with zero transactions. Like you go to the block scanner, it's just like zero transactions, zero transactions. Especially in like the smaller L2s or like, the really weird niche stuff. Like people are still running validators because they get inflationary token supply. That's about it, right? And I think it's probably expensive to run an Aptos validator. But I was thinking like, what's the difference between a chain halting and like a whole bunch of zero transaction blocks philosophically. Um,
Yeah, I mean it's true. I guess like a chain halt. It depends why the chain halted, right? Um, but like if it had something to do with like a
the
real or
AWS US
like
East outage.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I think if it had something to do with like a reorg or like something malicious, that is obviously different. Yeah, I don't know why else.
Yeah, I mean, thinking about like what even is malicious, right? It would be like a double spend, right? And
Right.
for
Yeah.
a lot of these networks, it's kind of like when you think about a double spend, you have to have something of value that's being exchanged for the token.
Mm-hmm.
And so USDC on Aptos, like I don't think it would be. I don't think there's any centralized exchange that's going to credit you for like spending it, sending it to them, and then like trying to send it
Mm.
also to another exchange or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think it's probably just tech. It was probably like someone had an issue syncing like a block timestamp or Um,
Mm.
but I do think, look, it's good press. Like you got like we're sitting here talking about Aptos. We haven't talked about Aptos in a while.
Yeah.
At least we're thinking about it.
I mean, true that. Hmm.
um,
Okay,
we have new
another.
networks with no activity.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, Scroll just launched. Um, Scroll just launched their mainnet. You said you were just looking at the DeFi Llama. You said 9 mil in TVL so far.
A cool
What are
9.06 mil.
nice? What are the top apps on there?
Oh man, you just wait. uh,
Let's see.
with a massive dominance of 30 plus percent, we have Kyber Swap. Kyber Swap is live
Nice,
on 16 chains.
nice,
That's fucking
nice.
strategy, right? Like, it's
Yeah,
really interesting. We're
they're the new
talking,
sushi swap.
yeah, um, yeah, exactly. We were talking at Polygon about like when chain develop because we're launching all these layer twos, right? Like, when developers for the L2s ask us for intros, like how do we figure out who to introduce them to and who not to introduce them to? Because we can't just be like
Mm,
bothering like if you're like an app that has like a small multi-chain strategy, like a Uniswap or
mm-hmm.
whoever, like we don't want to be sending them 9 million emails like, hey, can you meet this next L2 that's like, you know, giving it their best at like becoming the next GameFi chain or whatever, right? Like,
Yeah.
uh, so there's an interesting strategy on the builder side, which is like, do I try to concentrate liquidity? Like, does my model need concentrated liquidity on like one chain in particular? Or do I like try to concentrate users because I need that? Or do I
Mm,
go as broadly multi-chain as possible because I don't give a shit about having a deployment that has $3 million. It's 3 million more than I had before.
yeah, yeah. Why would you go one strategy or the other? Like why would your model need to either like stay with a single chain approach, or like why would it be more flexible? Like why, like what are your considerations there?
That's a good question. I think it's marketing primarily. So like you don't want to like cheapen your brand by having it live on everyone and their mother's new chain, right?
Yeah.
Kyberswap is a great example. They're just
Mhm.
shameless, right? Like they've made their choice. And if you ask them, the way
Mhm.
that they would describe it is probably something like, we believe the future is super multi-chain. We believe L2s
Mhm.
are going to power like an enormous amount of block space, and that's what's actually going to lead us to like mass adoption of this tech. And so we want to be out there providing a service, a trusted, smart contract and front end and whatever for users, no matter what chain they're on, right?
Mhm.
And that's how we're going to build our brand. Is like no matter where you go to Kyberswap. Um,
Mhm.
versus like I don't know, last cycle was so different. You'd get to the like DeFi Llama was a resource because you would like bridge to a new chain and you'd be like, okay, what the fuck do I do here? Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Like first I need to swap some stuff, right? Like where do I swap? And like DeFi Llama was where you would go to like figure out like where liquidity lived. um,
Mhm.
and so for a lot of new
Mhm.
chains, they might launch with two or three, partners that are like primarily betting on them as like blowing up as a big chain, and just want to bet on like a single chain. But they might also be down to like try and source some liquidity from Kyberswap because Kyberswap has, a certain amount of LPs that are probably just LPing USDC, USDT on every chain to try to collect the airdrop, right? So it's
Mm.
like any new chain that launches, if Kyberswap's there, you already know their smart contracts are good. You're just going to deploy your USDC, USDT there, and try to just
Mm.
farm as much as possible. Um,
Mm.
it's pretty interesting. So anyway,
So
scroll.
let's say, yeah, so okay, let's say you are a scroll, right? And like you want to basically like you're a new chain, you're in a like super, super competitive space, where literally everybody is the exact same, like it has
Yeah,
the
I
exact
mean,
same
sure.
product.
Yeah, like
Like how would you go about like growing TVL on your network? Like what exactly do you have in your toolkit? Like what can you do? How do you incentivize builders? Like what are you exactly like gonna do as scroll? Really like this applies to any new network.
yeah, I mean, as a new network, you have a token, or if you're scrolling, this is
Yeah.
what's
Well
honestly so great. Hmm?
Scroll doesn't
Go
have
ahead.
it live the token live yet, right?
Yeah, this is what's so great about launching an L2 is that like you
Mm-hmm.
don't even need your token. Like we used to have this like setup where people would send money in exchange for a token with the promise of building something later. Now we have the
Mm-hmm.
complete opposite setup where it's like, no, you don't have to send any money to scroll to use it. You don't get any tokens in return for using it necessarily. But the product, basically, the product goes live and then the token happens, right? There
Yeah.
was obviously a
Yeah.
bunch of VC fundraising along the way, um,
Mm-hmm.
but the promise of an airdrop is like pretty good, right? And the
Mm-hmm.
rumors of an airdrop are even better. The actual airdrop itself is okay, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you either have to be like really like you have to choose your strategy one way or the other. Are you going to consistently try to tease the airdrop the way that Arbitrum did, which I think was largely very successful, or are you going to be
Mm-hmm.
like super straightforward about like you have blur points? right? Which was also super successful. Like,
Mhm.
here's how, you can see exactly in real time how many points you're getting.
Mhm.
Anything in the middle is like a little trickier, right?
And how are like the teams there? Like the if you're a team and you get like X amount of TVL, you're assuming like you're gonna get whatever some kind of large airdrop, similar to if you're a user, you have X amount of activity, you're gonna get some kind of airdrop.
I mean, I think for users primarily, that's what's up with the airdrop, incentivization, right? Like they're the ones you're really targeting. But yeah, I mean, why not, also airdrop to some teams? Like Celestia had this really weird thing where, like, if you committed to any, well, we should probably talk about the Celestia airdrop too. um,
Oh yeah.
where if you committed to any like GitHub repo that was like under the like large selection of repos that they had, and you like verified with
Mm-hmm.
GitHub, then you could claim your
Mm-hmm.
tokens as like
Mm.
a contributor to open source like crypto development, which is pretty sick.
Interesting. That's cool. Yeah.
But anyway, like, yeah, so with stuff like that, you could imagine, okay, we're going to give some percentage of the airdrop to these guys, some percentage of the airdrop to those guys. On Arbitrum, you have this other weird thing. Actually, you know more about this than I do, where like you just have builders that are like, we want tokens. We will either build here, or we'll continue building here, or we'll deploy our next thing here, or whatever, in exchange for the tokens. Put it up to a governance vote, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think once you go live with a token, you kind of have to do that, right? As a DAO, like
Yeah.
that becomes the farming mechanism.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but before going
So
live, you
basically,
have
it's
so much
incentives.
flexibility.
Yeah. So basically, it is incentives though, like some kind of
Yeah,
token incentives, featured token incentives, airdrop, like whatever it is. Okay. How would you
yeah.
do it without incentives? Is there any way you can think of, like, to
How would you do it
incentivize
without
builders?
incentives? Equity.
Yeah.
Look, like it's got to be community, right?
Hmm.
But I think for someone like Scroll, it's too late. Like it's not a community vibe. It's like a pretty like copy paste. I mean, okay, can we just talk for a second? I love Scroll's branding. It's so good.
Hmm.
Scroll. Did you see the like Scroll is live tweet on Twitter? It was like this really cute little GIF where it's a keyboard and it has like a Control C key and a Control V key and a Scroll key.
Hmm.
And it's all about how their whole angle is like we're more Ethereum, we're more EVM equivalent than the other guys, whatever that means, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and like genuinely, there's a difference, and there's some lower quality ZK EVMs, but most of the big ones are like pretty much built on each other's code bases anyway. Like they're not that different, right? Um,
Okay. Yeah.
and so like any builder that could copy paste their app and deploy it on zk sync or Polygon zk vm or Scroll, like it's working across the board. But their branding is
Hmm.
very much like we are more like Ethereum than the other guys. So look, we're going
Hmm.
to really emphasize that you can just copy paste your code and deploy it here and it'll run more cheaply,
Hmm.
um, which is pretty interesting.
Hmm.
But I don't know. People just don't care about the tech. How else do you
Yeah.
incentivize builders? Gosh, it's hard. I mean, I think a lot of the ways it works at like a lot of networks is like someone knows someone that worked at the place, and so you can like, I mean,
Yeah.
if you look at like Aave, for example, right? It was very clear that like the places that they chose to deploy sooner rather than later were probably like relationship driven and like handshake
Hmm.
agreements and some kind of like token
Yeah.
incentive.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah.
Um, if you have something a little more community driven, something that feels more like a Canto, I feel like you could maybe attract builders that way. But builders are used to being spoiled. Like this is like core like 2014 Web 2 vibes, right? Where like you have a builder and they're like, everyone should be courting me, right? Like there should be hackathons sponsored by whatever protocol for
Yeah.
me to even
Yeah.
like consider building there, right?
Right.
Like, dude, I thought like hackathon sponsorships were like shameless, like just like cash prizes, whatever, in Web
Hmm.
two. But dude, in crypto, I mean, everything is financialized even more, right? So, like, you show up to a crypto hackathon, it's like, okay, does anyone know what the prize bounties are for each of these like tasks, right? Um, so it winds up being just very monetary all the way down.
I
Only
see.
Bitcoin
Yeah.
development is really community driven, right?
Yeah.
Maybe
That's why
Ethereum
there is no
development.
such thing as Bitcoin development. But yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, I'm curious to see what that TVL number looks like in, I don't know, a couple of months.
Yeah, I
I
mean, it's
scroll
tough,
his
man. You launch at a time in a bear market with nothing to fucking do, nothing to build. It's like, what are you going to fight over the Kyber swaps of the world? Like,
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think for these new chains, like the only way I see for them any chain to stand out, whether it's an L1 or an L2, is like they need, yeah, like you said, they need their own killer app. They need their own version of friend tech, which is going to bring people from outside rather than the same like 2000 DeFi farmers that still exist that are just hopping chain to chain, just moving their liquidity, farming airdrops, and then going to the next one. Um,
yeah.
so yeah, you need to like incubate that somehow. I don't know how Base was able to get friend tech. From what I've heard from the team and other people that are close to it, like that kind of came to them as a surprise. Kind of
Hmm,
just fell into their lap.
that's
But
cool.
yeah, I know how good for them. But yeah, I think like that's the way to do it. Like incubate that somehow. Get like grassroots. Yeah, as kind of like mercenary as it is, like I do think like if you do it the right way, hackathons like that can be pretty useful. But
Look, hackathons are not bad at all, right? The the especially if you go techie, right? If you go like real technical,
mm,
like I need you to use this particular piece of like the SDK in a creative
yeah,
way,
yeah,
right? Then
yeah.
you get some interesting stuff.
Mm,
Honestly, this is a bigger conversation around DevRel, right? Like, how do you do DevRel
mm,
correctly? We should bring someone
mm.
in who's done like a really good job there.
Oh yeah, that's a good call. That is a good idea.
If any of our
Um,
listeners have a suggestion, let us know.
yes, DevRel stands for Developer Relations. Um, okay,
um,
cool. Final thing. All right, Uniswap implementing the fee switch finally,
dude, wow, amazing!
but not
Finally.
quite. Yeah, not quite, not quite. I know. Finally, right? But yeah, the fee switch of 0.15% transaction fee on all trades that go through their front end. But all of those fees go back to Uniswap Labs, like the basically just like the protocol.
The DAO. Wait,
Um, the the
not the
DAO,
DAO.
something like that. Yeah, the not DAO,
The
the
not DAO.
team. Yeah, goes
Hayden.
directly back to the team. Yeah,
Just
yeah,
goes
yeah,
to Hayden's wallet.
yeah. Uh, so yeah, people are pissed about this.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't. Yeah, I mean,
Everyone's
I
pissed about
don't.
it. This pisses off
Yeah,
users. This pisses off uni holders. This pisses off everyone. And they're
yeah.
not doing
I
that much. They're
mean,
not making that much money, right? Like it was like 30 mil a year is like if you annualize what they've done in the first week or two.
in revenue
Yeah,
or in yeah.
in revenue to Uniswap Labs. So that's the 15 basis points part. Which is like I don't know, maybe worth it for the eventual like bull market.
Yeah, I mean, let's say like optimistically that like 10x is. Um, I
Hmm.
mean, that is a very high. I mean, it's yeah. I don't know what their costs are like as a business, but
Well,
like
yeah, I mean,
$300 million in revenue is
what
quite
are
a
the
bit.
primary OpExes of Uniswap Labs? It's running the front end. Okay, running the front end is probably very expensive, honestly. Like,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you probably, but the DAO can give them tokens to sell to zero
Mm,
to fund
yeah,
that,
true,
right? Um,
true, true.
They probably just like ask for a DAO allocation of tokens. But
Mm,
anyway, what else are the expenses? Throwing parties? I don't think Uniswap really throws parties.
mm.
Everyone just kind of uses them.
They don't. Yeah, they don't seem like the type.
I mean, for convenience,
Um,
like people are still going to be down to use the Uniswap front end, right? Like
yeah,
for most
yeah. People still
people,
will.
yeah, yeah. Although I don't know.
I
Okay,
do think a lot of
think
it
about it.
will. Yeah, I mean, I do think a lot of it will still go through like other like routers or whatever, like
Like
other
one
like
inch.
convenient front ends. Yeah, well, yeah, like a 1 inch type thing, and also like a bot type front end or something that basically both removes that fee and also is more convenient than directly
Like
interacting
Unibot.
with a Uniswap. Yeah, like
I
Unibot.
mean, Unibot just got 15 bips cheaper, right? Like, still expensive, right? Isn't it like
I think it's
10
like one
bips
percent.
more? 1%.
Yeah, it's
It's
very
only
expensive.
85. Now it's only 85 basis points above.
Yeah,
But look,
exactly.
that shows you, right? Like in this environment, like they probably looked, they were like, yo,
People,
what the fuck? Unibot can charge 1% and we're not charging
yeah,
anything. We might as well charge
exactly.
it.
Yeah, people will pay.
Yeah. And I mean, look
Yeah,
at
people will
MetaMask swap. It's
complain,
like
but they
80
will also
bips,
pay.
right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Um,
And like, I'm too lazy to fucking try to figure out which Uniswap front end I should trust. I guess one inch
yeah,
would be the one that you use now, but I'm based in the US. I'm
yeah,
too lazy to turn on a fucking VPN, right?
hmm
Yeah.
mm,
Like
yeah,
Uniswap Labs' biggest asset on their balance sheet is the domain name, right? It's that trust of like,
yeah,
I'm just going to go to uniswap.org. I know what I'm getting. I'm not going to connect my wallet to
yeah,
anything weird. Like, I'm going to trust it, right?
yeah, yeah. Definitely, their brand is very valuable.
Yeah, but do you think? I mean, so this kind of is. I think you've said it right. People will complain, but they'll pay. Like,
Yeah.
do you think this pisses people off in a way that's worth it at 30 to 50 mil?
No.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, I think
I think it's a small
people
number,
like,
right? Like, I
yeah.
don't. Yeah, I don't know if it was worth the kerfuffle.
Uh, yeah, I don't know. That's tough. I mean, they have no other way to generate revenue as a business. So,
Yeah, and if they're taking on
I
the
mean, I
legal
guess,
liability of operating the front end, maybe they should get fucking paid for it too. Honestly.
yeah, that is true. Yeah, it's like what we talked about with Jack in our last episode. It's like, do you think this business should be treated as a business, or what do you think? It's like, yeah, probably. Yeah, um, yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. Okay.
I mean, as soon as you're
All
something to
right.
buy, I'm gonna go right back to Uniswap and buy it there. That's just how it works.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think this is also just like setting the stage for, I don't know, like 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, whenever they inevitably become a security officially, and they can also like route fees back to their token holders and like all this kind of stuff. I think that's all coming many years from
Yeah, but
now,
I mean, you
many
would
legal
think
battles from
that.
now.
Yeah, I guess it's easy. I mean, technically, it's easier to just route it to the token holders directly, right?
Yeah.
This is like an extra step to like send it off chain or whatever. But
Hmm.
yeah, but several legal battles from now. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Cool.
Cool.
All right, Matt. You got anything else?
No, that was really fun. We haven't done a recap in a minute.
Yeah, it is good to be back. Cool.
All
All
right.
right. Well, we'll be back in a few days with our next deep dive, and with our next guest later on in the week as well. So stay tuned for that. And until next time, stay decent.